We're recording. Go
Yes,
ahead,
yeah.
Cindy.
All right. Welcome everyone to the Park and Recreation meeting of Monday, March 22nd, 2021. If you would bear with me, I will read this short statement again as I call this meeting to order. This open meeting of the Needham Park and Recreation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, to suspend public gatherings, and as such, suspend the open meeting requirement to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. For this meeting, the Park and Rec Commission is convening by Zoom as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you, and please take care not to screen share your computer. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. And that's it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming back again to our meeting. And Stacy, is there anyone here from the public? Anyone else attending? No? Okay.
Nope.
Then why don't we go right into the director's report?
You got it. Spring programming registration is set to begin Wednesday. Programs themselves won't start until the last week in April, aside from our April break programs. Planning for summer is well underway and several vendor programs are lined up and ready to go. As of this afternoon, we have reached out to our staff, our returning staff. And last time I checked it, we had already 20. So we did another Google form for people, our returning staff. And since Friday, we've already have about 25 staff returning. Kristen's probably pulling it up right now to give you the exact numbers, but it has been pretty quick. People are ready to go. And the high schools in general want to start working like right this second. So that is a positive thing. Fields and permitting, no new news since 6:38 p.m. We are gathering as many, we are continuing to get mostly special event permits. So we're trying to balance out any of the overlaps. There is a bug down here. It is like dive bombing my ear. So we're just trying to figure that out internally, how to work through those overlaps. As you know, from the meeting, there's, it's all the fields you expect. So it's not that surprising. We just have to be creative in how we move people around. Playgrounds, no new updates oh, sorry, Michelle.
One quick question on fields. So if the fields open on the 1st, are we going to be ready to issue permits for the 1st?
We'll be ready to issue permits before the 1st, ideally. I don't know that we're going to exactly open on the 1st. My initial conversation with Eddie this week was the grass is pretty soft and people aren't staying off it. I mean, today alone, he tossed off more. It's been an ongoing battle since the weather got warm. On the one hand, I don't blame people. On the other hand, it's super frustrating because they have these big footprints everywhere. So we have another conversation tomorrow. We're going to meet up, I think, and then we'll have a better sense of that. But yeah, we will be ready to issue permits before they open, certainly.
So permits will be approved for the 1st pending when the fields are open. Is
Yes.
that how we're dealing with that? So people will know what fields they have and what the schedule is.
Yes.
Soon, I would
And my
assume.
concern will always be to say, here's your permit, but you can't get on for another week.
Yeah.
But at the same respect, we'll know who it is that's on there. That shouldn't be. So I think we're going to have to go for, let's trust in the organizations. And I mean, we've already lost McLeod until we can fix the sinkholes. And Greens is already delayed because it just got hammered in the fall. So we're already 2 down, and people just have to be aware that if they keep it up, we're gonna keep taking fields offline. But we'll see. I'm hoping this week looks like really good weather. Unfortunately, there's still snow piles some places, so some fields are just mushy.
And have we I mean, I 100% appreciate Eddie's like plea to the teams to help police, but the majority of the people using the fields are not organized sports. It's not the people who are sitting in that room. And it feels like they, you know, we can only do, I think the organizations can only do so much. And I agree, anytime you're driving by and there's people on the fields, people can say things, but I think we need to like every day remind people that we like there needs to be posts and you get this
Field monitor. We need a field monitor, it seems like.
like,
Right?
or just there needs to be a constant reminder that we can't be on the fields. It's impacting the youth. We're not going to be able to get organized sports. Like, you know, families are so eager to have their kids engaged in these sports and they're not helping the cause by going and using them. But I think the private tutoring, I don't know if it's always Needham based. I mean, it's just, it's complicated. So I appreciate his plea, but I think we also need to be doing it on sort of a, you know, community level as well.
Yeah, so we are working right now with different town departments and the schools, mostly the middle school and the high school, because that's where we're having the biggest instances with trash and vandalism. Eddie and his team Eddie's done. Like he's just flat out because he's been picking up trash forever. And this last week, I cannot share the pictures with you, but they are offensive and upsetting. And they tagged the inside of the dugouts at Memorial. And then the response was, Eddie, how quick can you fix it? And it's like, that's technically not his job because he's Parks and Forestry, but he got out there and fixed it so that they named a specific teacher in their graffiti art. So, and it was rough, but you know, like that's what's happening. So now we're trying to get, we have a group called Trash Talk where it's like DPW, me, Youth and Family Services, one of the select board members, and the schools. And Aaron was the only school representative, but now we're pulling in the other two principals from Pollard and High Rock because it's not just the high school kids, it's also the middle school kids. So we are working with those guys, and the community is and yes, I agree. We need to be like saying like stay off the fields every day and putting it on people's like flash screens or, you know, taping it to their foreheads. I don't know, but yeah, there's got to be a bigger push on like stay off the fields because otherwise we're gonna have to close them. And I think it comes down to a lot of the other conversations we're having in town about equity and race equity. It's not just the what, it's the why. And if you tell people why, they may be more apt to like help. Like you have to stay off the fields because it pounds the grass and then we can't grow it and then we have to close the field. And it costs this much money. So we are working on a campaign and process with those guys and then also with Cindy, the PIO, Public Information Officer.
I was just gonna ask, does she have any suggestions as to how we get these messages out there?
Yeah, actually Eddie and I did a video a couple weeks ago. She's suggesting more and more videos. I love videos. I don't like to do them. I will do them.
Saw the cooking video.
I know, the meatball video. That was great. So fun.
Yeah.
So Eddie and I did a video and we're gonna work on other staff members doing videos, and the schools right now have reached out to us because they want to do the prom outside on the courts and the field up by the high school. Whether or not that works out, I don't know, but all of a sudden they're very eager to help volunteer picking up trash and doing trail walks and things like that. So we are working with not just the youth organizations. It's like at this point the youth organizations are like at the bottom of the trickle down because they haven't started on the fields, but once they get on the fields they'll be part of the like please help us policing this situation. Chris is here and maybe he can go out in his white tights and help police some of the fields.
Oh, whoa.
That'll
Leggings,
definitely scare
not
people
tights.
away.
Okay.
Sorry.
Wow. That was-
Okay. Playgrounds, no new updates. Now that we've got some good weather, Eddie and his team are working on the fields, and we are setting a list of like what stuff needs to be pulled and what stuff needs to be fixed. We're already working on a swing over at Newman, one of the handicap swings. Latch broke, so it is, while it cannot injure anybody per se, it doesn't latch, so it's not safe. So that piece should be here by the end of the week.
Okay.
Things like that are what we're going to chip away at first this spring.
Stacey, I have a question on programming. So we used to put out a booklet every season. We were, back when the graphics were a big deal, and we were so proud of it. But you could go to one place and you could see all of the Park and Rec programs. Where is the place to see all of those programs now? If I go to our page, can I see all those? I haven't tried, so I'm asking you.
So we're working on some flyers. We decided while we're in the middle of COVID, we're still not going to mail out a flyer to all the homes. We're working on flyers. They will be posted on our homepage. They'll be posted on and Kristen's working. It could be a booklet, like a 2-page flipper, or just a couple of flyers, but they'll be on the homepage, our Facebook page, and then the not so easy to navigate software on our online registration. Everything is there too.
Okay, and is it there now? If I go to look at that stuff now, can I see it?
Nope, but they will be available by Wednesday-ish.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm getting the nod. Wednesday they'll be up.
Okay, I'm not sure. I don't think we should do a booklet again. I'm not suggesting that, but I was thinking today how there was one place you could go and you saw everything in one place, and it was helpful to me, especially when seeing stuff come from other organizations.
Yes, definitely. We like to coincide the flyers with the registration, because if you put the flyer up and the registration isn't live, everybody calls and says they can't register. It's slightly different than when you mail a booklet home and people look through it and they're like, oh, registration is on X date, I can register then. It's like people see the flyer, click on it, and want to register. So we make them happen on the same day. So the flyer and registration will go live on Wednesday.
Okay, all right, I will look for it.
And then moving outside of COVID, we're probably going to go more towards a virtual booklet or a flip book. So it feels like you're flipping actual pages. We're going to try to be creative and save some money.
Okay.
Because those brochures are pricey.
Yeah, and I don't know that people are necessarily doing those anymore, and I don't think we need to do those. I don't think.
Okay. All right, assistant director position. We had our second round interviews this week. We had 4 candidates make it to the second round. 2 of them were on Thursday. Bruce was the commissioner for that round. The other 2 were on Friday, and Chris was the commissioner for that round. And there were 2 people that were different and 3 people that were the same. So after Friday, the 3 of us that were the same, after getting notes from the other panelists, all decided that all had the exact same order of candidates. So we have 2 candidates moving forward to the next round. I did think that the next round was going to be next week, but I just got confirmation that the applicant that is coming from out of state is willing to join us in person. So it'll be the end of next week.
This week or next week?
The end of next week, because part of his job right now is he's in Florida and it's spring training. And so his job is organizing spring training for Tampa Bay. So he asked, and since he is willing to come up here and fly, we are going to be a little bit more flexible on those dates. I am playing phone tag with the other candidate, but I imagine I will hear back from them.
Okay.
I did hear back, and then I called back, and we've just been going back and forth. So I will set up their third interview around the same time, so it meshes evenly.
Okay, and I would add any commissioners who are interested in being part of those interviews, please speak up.
The
Nice.
idea for the third round is I will meet them at RRC and, we'll do the walk and talk interview. And then we will go to another field and hopefully meet up with Eddie and do a walk and talk. And then another place and Katie King. So we're just trying to coordinate all of those people. So if anybody wants to join on that round, you can meet at one or any of those spots.
Perfect, okay.
I like
Great.
that idea. I think that's great to go into 3 different places.
Yep.
Thank you. So that's that. For the director's report, the only other update is CPC. It was an excellent meeting on the 17th.
One of the top 5 I've ever been in.
Yeah.
I thought it went well. I mean, in regards to the articles, I know in previous meetings we had talked about that McLeod was kind of up in the air. I think Eddie and Artie Crocker, who is the liaison, did a great job of kind of turning it around. I really don't see it being an issue as I thought it was at kind of the beginning of the process. So I think we're good on McLeod. The track resurfacing, again, I don't want to say it's a slam dunk, but it's the same thing that we wanted to do last town meeting, but they just punted it to this town meeting. So there's no real issues on that one. What were the other ones that we had? I'm blanking here.
Walker Pond is it reduced or is it out?
Walker Pond will actually be going to, and Kristen can correct me here, the special town meeting warrant, and it will be discussed on that night. So it was not discussed during the public meeting because it's going to the special town meeting article. And I think the town will be funding it, not CPC.
That is correct.
The trail identification markers, very simple request. And what am I missing? I don't have the
Trailhead, the rail trail.
Oh yeah, that
Street
was that.
Trailhead.
Yep, Trailhead. That was a great
Reservoir.
project too, and that was one that it's money, very short money if you want to say that, and the design is already there and just ready to go. So I really don't think there's going to be many issues at all with anything as related to Park and Rec for the CPC and town meeting.
Reservoir, did you talk to that?
I did not talk to that, but you'd like me to.
No.
Great project.
Yes,
And
it
town
is.
hall.
Oh, the town hall,
The
the
town's coming.
center town beautification. I think the images really did it justice. I think Eddie and his crew and all the user groups or people that led into it really did a great job. And I think if and when it gets done, it's going to be that crown jewel right in the center of town.
Great. Okay. So what's next is for CPC to vote?
We will have, yes, a meeting of just the CPC members to kind of go over what the public comments were from each of the articles. And then if there are any remaining questions that we have, we will hash it out that night. And then we will make the recommendations of what is going to stay on the warrant article, if anything is going to be pulled. But I don't think anything is going to be pulled.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the commissioners? Great. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Chris. All right. Any questions on the director's report? Oh, all right. Thank you. Let's see. Programs. Let's do our project. CPC update done. Programs. Summer dates.
Yep. So I have some thoughts about summer dates, although I believe you get to vote on them and decide. So my thoughts are so currently the last day of school is June 18th, which is a Friday.
Okay.
If we could start our summer program dates as early as June 28th, although ideally I think it should be the 6th, but I think there'll be a lot of pushback about that. So I think the 28th. And then we would run for 4, 5, at least 6 weeks, potentially 8, once we get an understanding of our staff. As you run into that third week in August, staffing is just, you just don't know. And ideally, COVID will be tamped down and the kids will be in preseason training and they will go to school sooner and they will head off to college earlier. So ideally, we'd have an 8-week summer, potentially a 6-week summer, starting that last week in June. What I would offer for the week of the 21st is to find a vendor camp, like a multi-sport camp or a STEM camp, and hire another company to run it so that we can focus on staff training, prep, organization, get the sites ready, but also be able to offer something to the public.
So that's the week of June 21st, you're talking.
Yes.
The kids get out Friday, presumably. We have something the very next week.
We have an option for them, not run by us, totally vendored out, contracted out, but it gives parents an option and it gives us more time for training, first aid, whatever we need. Plus there's that buffer of like, we can't really get into the schools to run our programs until the schools get out of the schools. And it'd be nice of us to give the teachers a week to not have people coming in and out of their classrooms. So that's my thought process on that. But we could have a vendor program, say down at Cricket, where the field's pretty open, there's bathrooms, there's some shade, that kind of thing.
So those 8 weeks take us through August 20th, is that correct?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes.
August, okay.
So I feel solid about 6 weeks. Ideally we'd go to 8 weeks.
Okay.
We may have to pare down our options. Like instead of 7 options, we may have 5 options depending on staffing. And the same thing, like even the week after, when do the kids go back to school? Does anybody know?
Generally the first week of September.
Okay, so it's not until Labor Day, right? So even the week of the 23rd, if we have enough staff, we can continue to run pared down programs. Or if we know ahead of time we're not going to be able to staff it, we can find another vendor program to run something that week. So again, parents have an option, but we don't have to rely on our staff that may be like, oh, I forgot I have to leave 3 weeks earlier than I said I was, which happens a lot.
Okay, and do you know that you for sure can get into the schools?
Yeah, we have access to the schools. Right now we're working with Needham Community Ed and Special Ed, and we found out today that a parent called and said a lot of kids are doing summer school this year in the mornings, and he was wondering if there's an afternoon program for these guys, and a lot more kids are in it because they're all behind. I don't believe that, but so we're going to do a little investigating and see if there is a summer school program that is like a 9 to noon, and try and work with wherever those schools are to offer like either a drop-in or like a playground program at the site so those kids can have something to look forward to and aren't trying to jump into a camp in the middle of the day. Like that's just tough on kids and they've had enough anxiety this year. So if we can just have them all starting somewhere at one time, that would be great. Whew. Kristen, you flew.
I know.
You're in a different location.
Totally.
What's
safe.
going to happen next? You're
It
going to
was
be home
totally
after the
safe,
next
I promise.
bullet?
The whole time.
So that's what we're looking into now is we're just working with the schools about which types of program we can have at which schools.
All right. Any comments and questions from the commissioners? No. All right. So when do you think you'll know more about this, Stacy? I mean, it sounds like there's still a lot to look into.
So we'll get a better sense on this week with I have a lot of meetings with the other summer program people, figuring what they're doing so that we're not overlapping and we're not putting too many kids in one space. So hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have a lot more information and some real cut and dry details.
And the Board of Health is on board with this, or is that still to be determined?
They're on board with something. We're just trying to figure out numbers exactly, if the groups can intermingle at all, or if they really have to stay separate. The those kinds of things. We were originally basing it off of everything will be the same as last year, but now things are opening up. So we're trying to balance what is safe and good for the residents and their expectations of what everybody else can do. And so we're trying to figure out that happy medium.
Okay. I don't know that we typically vote on the dates of these meetings. I don't have
Okay.
these. Does anyone, I don't remember that we've ever done that. I mean, I'm always happy to vote, but I don't know.
If you
that-
don't
I
have to, you
think-
don't have to. Just
I think we leave it up to the discretion of the staff.
Right.
sweet. Okay.
However, we can make the most money at the least amount of effort.
And while servicing the community to the best of our ability, you meant to add, yes.
I did. Well,
Make
that's
great
why we're a team.
value.
You've finished my sentences for me. Cindy.
Exactly, okay. All right, any comments, questions from commissioners? No, okay, great, thank you, Stacy. So now we're at to the pool memberships.
Before we go to memberships, we should also talk about dates for the pool. Do you vote on those as well, or do I get to pick?
No, we have
So-
to be vote on that.
Generally, you get to pick unless we don't like it. I don't know how to phrase that diplomatically. But I
Summed it up right there.
You get to pick, but we have veto power. That's what you're saying.
as I recall last year, some on the staff wanted to be closed on the weekend because it was easier, blah, blah, blah. And we said, oh, that can't happen. So generally we will trust in your decision-making, but not always.
Okay. Would
But
you like to
mostly-
hear my thoughts?
We would love
Then
to
you
hear,
Tell me if I have good decision making.
we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay. So my thoughts are that we open our short schedule, which it for Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the 11th, 12th, and 13th. The reason I'm not asking,
month are you
I'm sorry,
talking
about? What
June. You're not looking at this, Matt? Come on.
Duh.
The reason I'm skipping the first weekend in June is because that is Needham High graduation, which could mean that 90% of our staff are there and not able to work. And I don't want them at work the next day, no matter what they say. So 11, 12, 13, and then the following week, the 14th through the 18th,
Mhm.
we, depending on the availability of staff, we would consider some limited hours, not a full day program. Whether that's some lap swimming or some family swim, because everybody else is still in school until the 18th, but maybe families with young kids could come before the crazies come, and we would open sort of at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If we, if we have a good enough staff, we'd open limited hours in the morning, and then we'd open typical in the afternoons. And then from basically the 18th through unofficially August 15th, we would have a full schedule. Typically.
Sounds
And
great.
again, those August dates, if we lose staff, we could reduce hours, we could make a shorter day, we could be creative with the amount of staff that we have. As far as the protocol, so first of all, how do you feel about those dates?
So I love the June dates. I love the opening for that weekend, limited hours, the week of the 14th. That sounds great to me. And opening on the 6/18 for a full school. I love that. The August 15th, while not affecting me personally, we're going to get pushback on that, but.
Let me be
certainly-
sorry. I don't know if I wasn't clear. I meant the full 7 to 8 schedule until August 15th. And then depending on the number of staff, it may have to be like a 9 to 5 or a 12 to 8 for a
So
week
best,
or 2
best
weeks.
efforts for the, to get to Labor Day.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't shut down, we would just start to alter depending, like if we go from having 40 staff to 30, we're gonna shorten the hours accordingly. August 15th, I feel confident saying we can stay open the full schedule.
Okay, I like it, but I will open it up to the commissioners. Matt's giving me a thumbs up, so I'll take that as he likes it. Michelle or Chris, any comments, questions?
No, I agree. I think the more we can even have whatever hours we can make work in August, like every day, we can keep it open in some way, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, because I'm even thinking, even if we only have, say, 14 kids as staff, we can open for 4 hours. So we could have like 2 shifts of people come
Mhm.
in, or we could do like a shift of lap swimming and a shift of family swim. We can be creative with what we have to open at some point every day.
Yeah, I like that, and especially if we communicate that to the public, we're doing our best, we're working with what we have for staff, and we appreciate your understanding. I think the most pushback we will get could be from some of the select board members, but they haven't been able to solve that staffing problem either, so. But I like that. Chris, did you have any comments?
Was just going to echo love seeing the June dates, and as far out as we can go for August, we'll take whatever we can get. I think it's great.
Okay.
So in other words, your decision-making abilities passed.
We'll have to
Killing it.
veto your dates.
Killing it.
Stellar decision making. We totally agree with you. We don't need to vote because your decision making, you and your staff, is fabulous. Okay. And then we get to memberships.
I'm gonna tell the people upstairs that my decision making is fabulous. So before we get to memberships, I want to let you know the pool protocols from Mass right this very moment, I cannot speak to in 10 minutes, but right now are basically 50% capacity. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I don't know the Board of Health is gonna go with our 50% capacity. Our capacity for our pools is significant.
Yeah.
The pools together, the pool capacity, not the facility capacity, but the pool itself capacity, the two of them together, 790 people.
Yep. Yep.
So to put half of those people
400 people.
400.
still feels like a lot. I have a meeting with Tara this week to figure out what that number looks like. But it's my guess is at the worst it could be like 150, which is double what we had last year at any given time.
We would at
That seems
least-
And
manageable. I don't
and
know
it's not,
exactly.
you're not cordoned off into certain areas. It's like you have run.
No coordinating. We will still go with time slots. We still will go with reservations because it helps with all the contact tracing, if nothing else. But it'll be like, okay, at 10 o'clock, we can have 150 people sign up.
Okay.
And with the new software system that Kristen pulled together by the skin of her teeth, that will be very easy to do. Because like you sign up a family and say, I have 5 members. And so the system will say like, okay, 5 out of 150. And then when we get to 150, it will turn off and you cannot register. So
Great.
I don't know what that exact number is. I have to work with Board of Health on that, but it will be at the very least double what last year was.
Well, that is great news.
High
But
five, Kristen.
Kristen has her hand up. Or is she just doing a?
No.
High
I just wanted to point out that the 150 is supported by the parking capacity that was granted to us by the zoning board of appeals. So if you remember the pool and you remember the project, we had to get a waiver to have the numbers. It supports the parking that we have, supports the full-time staff that works here, as well as 304 patrons. So that's 150 would be 50, and that would support 50% of the capacity for parking. But to the point of everybody else, there's people that take the bus, that walk, that bike. So, but that's parking can solve that problem.
So before you had your membership conversation, I wanted to let you know that I think conservatively, we could double our entrance of last year.
Well, that is very good news. Very good news. And what do you think that means then to our memberships?
What do you think it means?
Question with a question.
Does that
Um,
double?
I think that for people that got rolled over for this year, it's probably fine. It's probably fine for them. I think if we're community facing, right? We're public servants.
Mhm.
If we reach out to all these people that have memberships and they were like, you know what, I'm not going to use the pool this summer. I don't want my membership anymore. I think we have to be prepared for that. Kristen came up with the good idea of, okay, we rolled over your membership, but you didn't get in last year and you don't want to chance it this year. It's too much of a pain. Okay, we can understand that. We'll give you 50% credit to use in the future, but you forego your membership. If people are adamant about pulling out, that way we're not sending any refund money, but we're giving them an option.
So that option is that they can use that credit for any park and rec?
Anything
purpose?
park and rec in the future. Yep, anything. Program, tennis, membership.
To keep the money in the system without refunding it and punt it
Yes.
to whatever they want.
Yes.
Do
I
you
like
think we have a lot of people that did not get to use the pool who bought a membership?
I don't think it's a high number. There might be a few families. This would be more of a consideration of, I used the pool at the limited capacity we had last year. This year, because restrictions are being lifted for travel, I'm getting out of Dodge. I'm going to Mexico for a month with my kids. We're not going to really get to use the pool this year. And we had limited capacity last year, right? So, or here's the schedule we're coming up with. You can only register for a time slot every 3 days, or however it is worked out. Like, give them the full picture of what this summer looks like. And they're like, you know what? That still isn't really great for my personal family use. I'm not going to use this. And they can use then, but they can still get the benefit of the money that they've already paid into the system for 2022 or fall
All
or
programming.
programs or
This is all very nice. Do you think we need to do it? And I mean, I'm all about the community too, and but these people had a chance to pull out last year. Right, they stuck with.
Yeah,
Do you-
I'm not sure that it's necessarily something we say like, here are all your options to get out of your membership. But I do think that the office is going to get inundated with questions and does this mean I'm only going to get to the pool twice? And so to have the knowledge that we can offer something to somebody that's really frustrated and bitter about the process, I think would be helpful for the staff. But yeah, I don't think we should, make a flyer of how you get out of your membership. I think we make a flyer to say, these are all the great benefits you have to having a membership this year. And this is how it's going to work.
I mean,
But
I'm wondering if you could just do it on a case by case basis. So someone calls and they are really complaining and they are bitter, because we don't want anyone to be bitter. We don't want someone to have a bad taste in their mouth. But I think a lot of people, my impression is they will just suck it up because it's been COVID and we've done our best and people have tried to do their best. I think most of us. So I don't know that you'll find a lot of that. And if you do have the family who calls or the person who calls and said, I didn't get to use my membership, but I'm so ticked off. I thought, well, then we offer them, what can we do to make you feel better? We can offer you, I mean, I would do it on a case by case rather than offer it. But
and also
more than
only,
happy to do that, but that does give all the wiggle room to me. If you guys are comfortable with that, yeah,
but I would also do it as a portion. I wouldn't do the whole, like, I wouldn't lean in and say, yeah, we'll give it all, right? It's like,
definitely not.
hey, look, so last year wasn't the best season. We can give you 25% back or something. Like, you have a starting point, and that I would feel is to you guys' discretion. If you need to go above that starting point, or if that's not satisfying, then I would say come back to the commission and ask. right? But I just think giving you guys wiggle room on that is fair, but I agree with Cindy. It should be case by case, but it's like, look, we already bent over backwards extending this and going into next, and trying to accommodate things. We understand it wasn't the best experience. Things are out of our control, but this is the best we can do, but not,
Mhm.
because otherwise, once one person finds out in this social media world, they're going to post and say, yeah, just just go and complain real loud and call Stacy or Kirsten and they'll take care of you. Right.
Yeah.
And you're,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would prefer to do it on a case by case. I do want to I do prefer having a baseline from you guys. Like, where is the point where I'm like, I have to go to reach out to the commission. They're meeting on this date, and I'll ask them, and then I'll get back to you. And whatever that is, then that makes it easier internally. So I can say Stacy can handle this one, or it has to go to the commission. You have to wait. I'm sorry.
So I would be comfortable with you making the decision pretty much every time. You're going to know better. You and Kristen will know better. And my impression is that last year you folks did your best if somebody felt they weren't getting a time slot to get them a time slot. So I think that the staff has already extended themselves as much as you could. So I think that you will know. I mean, you guys are customer service, right? A big part of your job. So you're going to know when someone is really getting angry and really frustrated and leaving a bad taste in their mouth. And at that point you can say, so listen, the best I can do is I can offer you a credit for a certain percentage. And if you need to think about it, you can always use us and say, if this is outside the norm, I have to get this approved, right? We're
Yeah.
always,
Mhm.
I'm willing to, I'm happy to leave it at your discretion. I don't know how the others feel. I don't want to micromanage it.
No, I agree. It's up to you. If you need to bring it back to the board, you can, but you're the front line and you can make that call.
Perfect.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I have to drop here. Stacy, sorry, gotta drop, but I think you guys
All right.
almost done anyway.
Kind of miss you. We're only going to see you one more time, I think, right?
Lucky you. Chris is counting the minutes.
No, I would never do that, Matt. I'm gonna miss you.
Appreciate it.
All right, we'll see y'all.
See you, buddy.
So does that give you enough? Does that give you two folks enough to go on? And certainly anything you're not comfortable with, then I say bring it back to us
Yeah.
we'll know that.
Of course.
And if you have, 35 families who demand a refund, then I think we need to talk about it, right? We need to,
Yes.
right?
Goes without
If
saying.
you have 3 people who call and say, I didn't get any use out of it and I'm not feeling good about it, then that's, something that obviously you would handle. So, all right.
You feel like most of those complaints would have already surfaced for people knowing going into the summer.
Yeah.
I'm only concerned, Michelle, that they won't expect, they live in a bubble of, wait, there's still a pandemic, and they'll be like, what do you mean I need to sign up for a reservation? That was last year. So once we get the process out there, I am anticipating a few phone calls of, what do you mean this is happening again? And I just kind of want to get ahead of it and be prepared. I would imagine most people will be like, well, that makes sense, but there are still out there people where you're just like, where do you live? Do you live under a rock? What's happening?
Yeah,
But-
I don't know that we have many of those, but you're right. There's probably a few. I mean, it's been pretty hard to avoid this whole thing. So,
And it does feel like the membership applied, last year's applies to this year. So you're getting 2 memberships in one, like all of that makes me feel comfortable with saying still available to you. The process is easier. There's no specific areas that you need to reserve, because that was challenging if you have kids and you have a 2-year-old and all that's left is
Yes.
deep water. You're limited. You were really restricted last year, whereas this year, if you can choose where you're swimming, that opens up a lot of opportunities for families with smaller kids. So I think the restrictions, if they continue as you've illustrated, I think it'll be much easier for people to to accommodate a broad spectrum of individuals that
Yeah.
probably wasn't the case last year.
Right, because
So-
they can come, they can swim wherever they want, they can sit wherever they want. I mean, we will say like, you can't be too close, you have to separate, but that will happen while they're there, not beforehand, and they'll get used to it.
Right.
So it feels like if it was exactly the same reservation system, then I would expect
Right.
more, and I would agree with providing some sort of credit. But now that it's much easier and more accommodating, I would be more inclined to push back on credits. And
Oh, I will. I just, sometimes you're just like,
I wouldn't question that.
after a while, you're like, you know what, you can, I'm done.
Right, exactly. But I think, but you'll know, right? You'll generally know. Right.
Yep.
And some people it's just not worth the argument. And, we want to leave as many people as possible feeling positive about the whole experience. Okay. Okay,
Pool memberships.
finally, I've asked 6 times.
Sorry, it's all my fault.
We had to take the baby steps to get there. I understand. All right. So now we're at the pricing and the number, right? Okay.
Well, there's nowhere we're going to raise the price.
I recommend that you do not raise the price.
Okay. All right. So that's one scenario crossed out. Thank you, Chris.
I recommend that you offer a limited number of pool memberships this year.
Yes. And that number will be, how many did we sell last year? Anyone know? I should know that.
Yes.
406.
406?
Yes.
406. Okay.
We've had, I think, 2 refunds since then because people didn't they didn't come to the pool last year at all, and they are moving out of town. So we've had a couple people already out of that have been refunded because of that scenario, which is our refund policy anyway. So that one didn't come, but they 100% didn't use the pool last year, and they are moving, I think, some of them out of state even. So.
And how many members total do we have, just as a reminder?
I'm sorry.
How many total memberships did we have?
400. It's 406.
400, that's total, not just how
Total.
many signed up last year.
That previous year. So last year was 406. Previously, I don't have that number, but it was I think it was over 1,000, way over 1,000.
Because
maybe.
we stopped selling, right? We stopped at some
Yeah,
point.
we
and
had
said,
to.
we don't even know if we're going to be open. We can't sell any more memberships. I don't remember what we sold the previous year that was so crazy. But
It was up to about around 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're slightly less than half. I mean, it's hard, right? We're playing with the protocols that are right now, and in 2 months or by
Right.
June 1st, they could be totally fine, and we could be backwards.
right.
My recommendation is that we don't go over 600 memberships this year.
So that would be 200 memberships.
200 new memberships.
Mhm.
Half
And
of
we
what we currently
can
have. All right, that's not
create
bad.
a reservation system where there are options for people that don't have memberships like we did last year. There are potential, though not advertised, options for walk-ins. Like we could, with the new system, we can do a QR code. So if somebody shows up and is like, is there any space? They'll still have to register, but there could be if we have space, they would still have to register, but they could scan the QR code, get registered, and come in.
So
There
somehow,
would still be options if you didn't have a membership.
and we're talking neither only at this point because we think the contact tracing is kind of a limiter, right?
Yeah, Board of Health's not going to let us do anything that's.
I mean,
within
that
our
actually
business.
is easier for us, even though I'm sorry for those people that would buy a pass who don't live in town, but
For one more year, I think it's not a bad thing. It really gets people in Needham excited and interested, and then it creates its own little community for the pool. And then
right.
once we
So
open up,
a couple in mind is one, you have to market it so that the people who bought a pass last year don't feel like, oh my goodness, they're selling more passes, I'm never going to get in, right? And then we also have to say, but we're limiting the number, and maybe that generates a little more excitement. Right, so that's one thing. And then the other thing I'm questioning is, what about, so no daycares? We used to do a big business with the daycares in town. I guess that's still a no.
I didn't get any confirmation from Tim. In the big picture, okay, we are to open the pool in limited capacity in a way that is going to serve lap swimmers and families
Okay,
with or
Even
without
if
children,
it's-
but to also offer programs that are specifically mostly towards kids, like our program camps, to then take away pool time so that a school with young kids could come in is really prioritizing the kids versus the whole town. So in a no limited capacity, we will definitely have these programs and stuff like that, but I have a concern about prioritizing kids and families with kids just all across the board. And I think if we don't allow in any sort of preschool or camp programs for one more year, it helps balance that out.
okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. I just know that was always has been a big deal, going back as far back as when my kids were little and they went to the old pool as part of their daycare. I have other questions.
It
but
is, and it's a big moneymaker. I don't know. I don't even know how the Board of Health feels about that. It'll obviously be a conversation for them. But we would have to shut down the pool to allow those kids in.
Okay,
So it would
Uh,
have to be just them.
okay. Commissioners, I don't want to monopolize the question, so if you have some.
Michelle, you question or no?
You can go ahead.
Okay. I know we don't want to compare ourselves to like a Lifetime and Boston sports clubs, but what are they doing? Are they doing the same practices of what we're looking to do? Or are they going the opposite direction by letting in these camps and other things? Because I mean, if all the pools are doing it, I think it's great. I still think the idea that you had is we should go through with that and not let the camps and the schools in. But I mean, what are the other locations doing? Do you know, or do we know?
I can only speak to the rec departments in general, not the Lifetimes
Sure.
or the BSCs. But what I can tell you is typically in the morning hours, the pools are closed to the public and the camps or the programs come through that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then they open to the public from 12 to 6 or 12 to 8. So that's how they get around that. So they're closed to the public during the other times.
But if we did that, we would have a bunch of upset lap swimmers if we went down that route. So, and I don't want to pick a fight with them. I think it's great that we keep it open for the lap swimmers in the morning, town residents, and then we can keep the community at the pool and not, have to worry about any cross contamination. Something like that.
And one of the big things that I think for especially our senior population was huge last year was our water walking. People love the water walking, and to take away the family pool for those people that were water walking, I think would be a bummer for them,
Yep.
especially the senior population who are just now getting to be more active after being inside all year. We are working with Tim to figure out if there's a way to offer some limited swim lessons, but we would try to figure out how to work within a lap swim. We're trying to figure out if swim team is going to be a possibility. Those are our two ones. If those two are a possibility, then we would obviously throw in an adult water exercise to make it
Oh, good.
equitable. But we're going to have to be creative about what times those are at and what spaces.
So I would urge, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I would urge that you make swim lessons a priority. Last year did not give swim lessons, and one of the big things, in my opinion, of a reasons to have a municipal pool is so that you teach each and every kid to swim. And it's seniors and seniors, it's great that they need to get out there, but these kids need to learn to swim. It's a life skill that is, so important. And I feel like last year we weren't able to do it. So there's a whole batch of kids that we didn't get to teach. Now, hopefully they got to learn somewhere else, or they'll get to learn this year. But I feel really strongly that we need to offer swim lessons at a really low, affordable price, or, you know, scholarship or whatever, so that every kid learns to swim. So
Yeah,
if
I've
this
been teaching swim
way-
lessons since I was 16. I'm all for that. But offering swim lessons through us makes it, we can make sure the protocols and the processes are being followed as opposed to bringing in people from outside. So yes, we will be. Tim seems on board with it. It's just a matter of like how many per group and how many per, like, how do we space these guys out, and do the little guys need to have a parent in the water with them because we don't want our staff holding them, you know, to learn how to float. So those are the kind of things that will help us determine when and how many per group. But he seems very much on board with swim lessons. We're still trying to figure out swim team.
Yeah, well, I think you're still figuring out lifeguard training, right? So,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I have a training on that. Oh, this week.
Okay.
Quick question. Will the slide and the diving board be available or
Really?
no?
That's the question you're bringing up
Yes, it's a
right now?
legit question. I know we're not
Only for
having the
you, Chris.
quadrants.
Only for you.
Yes.
But cool. I
Yeah.
like
They'll be open. I don't see why not.
Yes,
You know,
Great.
see, wasn't that bad of a question? Yeah.
right. We spent
I
a
just
lot of.
didn't know if you were gonna come in with like, I want to be a slide monitor.
Oh no, heck no. I want to go down the slide.
Yeah.
Right. We spent a lot of time getting that slides and diving board, you know, that was a kind of a little bit of a battle to get all that stuff in there,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, the slides will be open. You know, we'll have to create a line of where to stand 6 feet apart because you won't be able to all just cram on the ladders together. So it'll be
Stairs.
more spaced out and more controlled, which might be good. There wasn't a whole lot of control from what I hear. So we can, John Billion was super fun up there, but I don't know how much control he had.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we'll have that open. Same thing with the diving board. They'll just be more like, they'll just be lines.
Right, okay. Michelle, did you have questions?
No, I was just thinking about just where the 600 memberships came from. Like, as we're thinking about being able to provide more access per block of time,
Mhm.
are we being too restrictive in the number that we're offering? Like, how many families do we think we could get in a day?
Yeah. So I went with a 2/3 ish, but it really is based on my concern of what if we go backwards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we let in like up to 1,000 memberships and then June 15th hits and they're like, actually now you're at 10% capacity, and we're like,
Mm.
then what do we do? That is really just that's my biggest concern. And because it's been in other places, it's been up and down and up and down. I would, Murphy's Law says if it's going to drop, it's going to drop in the middle of summer. So.
And I know you were mentioning the potential to have people come in who do not have a membership that could walk in. Like, that feels like, I'm not sure. I would rather sell more memberships than offer walk-ins for people that don't. I think it should be closed to only people that have memberships.
My only concern with
Members
this,
can walk in if it's available, but not people that do not have a membership.
right, I guess my concern on that, Michelle, is equitability. So if I am a low income family that doesn't have a membership, I can't go to the pool. And we offer 1 million scholarships and we will give anybody, but if they don't ask and they want to come and pay the $10 fee of our drop-in rate, how do we, because last year we had a drop-in rate too. Like, you could be a non-member and sign up and pay versus if you were a member, you could sign up because there was no extra fee. So I see your point. Does that seem fair?
Right, so last year we did offer a daily pass if there was space.
Yes.
Mhm.
It was residents only, definitely, but we did offer non-members. It was like $10 per person with like a max of $30 per family or something, $40 per family.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, because the $5 a head, I think we did it. We capped it at a certain. You're right. I remember that.
You're concerned, Michelle, that they're taking space away from the pass holders?
Yes. And maybe you're only opening it up if there's spots in a time slot that haven't been filled previously, and that they wouldn't get a full time slot if they're coming in at 1:15 and the slot ends at 2 and it started at 1. Like, is that how you're accommodating?
No, it would be more like, so members can sign up for this week, or say like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If you're a member, you get to sign up. You have first dibs on these 3 dates. If you're not a member, in 3 more days, you can sign up for those spots if they're available. So like members got first dibs, and then non-members got sort of, if there was space left over, they could sign up for it. And it was always really close to the next day.
And last year we didn't restrict memberships. Right? We
We
didn't.
did stop selling
We
memberships.
did not stop selling them. Or
We
you-
did.
No, we did
Okay, that's what
at
you're
some
saying.
point.
We did. It was July 11th, 13th, somewhere in that range, like a week or a half before we opened the pools. When Stacey and I were talking about this, it was like, so last year we had slots, right? And there was 12 slots. And if we had an open slot, we had a wait list. We'd call the people and say, do you still want this? Come on in. The walk-in situation would be like if we had 10 slots, like randomly at 1:30, and at 1:35 someone walked up and was like, any availability? I've got my 2 kids in the car. If we had it, then we could over the counter sell them a day pass, basically. But it would be like last resort, not necessarily advertised. We wouldn't be reaching out necessarily unless there was like a massive number. Then we might want to say register, there's time slots open online, something like that.
Mhm.
But it was more like we don't want to not have as many people in as possible at the whole summer. And that was a big feeling for last year. Like, as much as the pool can be used, that's the amount that we should be using it. So it was just kind of, because it's a number of people, not a number of groups, right? So I can't like call a family and be like, hey, you're on the wait list, or maybe we can. I don't know. But that was just, we were just kind of like talking it out, like trying to figure out what our recommendation
Yeah.
would be.
And last summer we couldn't sell over the counter.
Right.
Like, so you had to register. If you didn't register ahead of time, we couldn't exchange anything. This is just like if there's a space, you can hit the button. But yeah, it would be not advertised, and people will line up. And if it becomes an issue, we can say, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. But it just offers us a more flexibility as opposed to calling like, oh, it's 1:15. Can you come? Like, so and so canceled. Like, it was.
Yeah, feels like anything
pain.
to restrict any manual administrative outreach feels like the way to go.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
other number I pulled for you, Michelle, because I wanted to give you guys both everybody numbers. Members that were residents, not residents for 18-19, for what we did back in the normal days. We had 1,131 residential memberships. So
Can you say it again? I'm sorry, my screen froze when you gave that number.
no problem. 1,131 was residential memberships.
Hi, Jader.
Oh.
So 600 puts us at about 50% capacity, which is the current guide.
Yeah, that's helpful context.
Oh, great. Okay, I mean, I like that idea, Stacy and Kristen. I think that it's as scientific as I think you can be right now. I don't know if there's any other method. Okay, and then you need to come up with a price, or we need to come up with a price, right? So
Kristen, do you have any thoughts on pricing?
My thoughts would not be less than not more than 50%, because it's, when we set the rates, just thinking about when we set rates for 2020, right? We had 50,000 people in the pool. You could come any day, anytime.
Mhm.
morning, afternoon,
Right.
doesn't matter. And so we're still limiting access in a way that is obviously safe and for the betterment of the community, but it is a lesser thing. And if you think about it, you know, the people that paid last year are basically paying 50% of their membership for last year and 50% this year. So I think at or above 50% would be my recommendation personally. It would put memberships about $250 for the summer for families. Higher if you want it. I don't think going lower than that is necessarily fair to the people that already have memberships. But above that rate, it's what the commission feels is necessary, understanding that our cost and expenses of the pool may have been more than we thought they were in 2020 when we set the 2020 fees.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's really an undersell. Okay.
Just, you know, PC about the whole thing. Just, you know.
On Sunday, she's like, oh boy.
We seriously underestimated the cost of that pool, but that's okay. It's done. Commissioners, comments?
I like how you explained the 50% of if you have a family that bought it last year and then parlayed it to this year, it's a good selling point of where it is and where that number would come from. So if people do ask like, oh yeah, I'm paying 50% of what the cost would be, we know it. And I kind of like how that was explained and suggested.
I would also recommend no early bird. I'm sorry, I did forget to say that.
Oh no, just straight to programs. Yeah.
Can Billy do this?
I still think it should be higher than the 50%. Feels like we've allowed flexibility. There may have been people that didn't sign up last year. They're waiting to see. There's more access than last year, more flexibility in abilities to get in with kids of different ages. We still have all of the features available. We're not restricting any use. I would say like a third off, like 30%.
Yeah. So I'm with you, Michelle. I think the people that bought passes last year, I'm very thankful that it sounds like most of them, really all of them, stuck with us. We may find some drop out, but so I think that I would really like them to feel appreciated that they stuck with us and they rolled over into this year. And I think that the people buying the 200 additional passes probably need to pay higher than 50%, but less than 100. So what that number is, you know, maybe it is, you know, as Michelle said, 2/3 of the price, or maybe it's 75% of the price. I think it's in my mind, that would be the range, somewhere between 66% and 75%. Just so the people who rolled over from last year feel like, you know, I did get a little bit of preferential treatment, you know, when I stuck with them. And I think that we need to show our appreciation for that. And I do think there will be demand for these 200 or so additional memberships. So that's what I think. And I think, Kristen, you gave a very good explanation of that it should not be less than 50%. And I agree with you. And in fact, I think it should be, as Michelle said, higher than that. But what do you guys think, Stacy and Kristen?
75%.
75.
Okay. I would be comfortable with that too.
Yeah.
Of whatever membership it is, family, senior, individual.
Right. Across the board, right.
Yes.
So if you wanted to vote, I could give you what those prices are, up to you, or if you'd like to have a minute to think about it and have us present at the next meeting.
Can you wait until, I mean, I don't really need to wait to think about it, but
Let's get it done. Why push it now? If we can vote on it now, can we vote on it now?
Yeah, Kristen doesn't have to run the numbers. If somebody words it like we would like to offer memberships for the 2021 season at 75% of the rate of 2020 season. Of course, Kristen already has the numbers because she is one step ahead of me.
So 75% of the 2020 rate would be $300 because it was $400. So,
Nice.
Oh, love that, right?
Wow.
The senior one is a little bit more wonky, and that is, I would suggest perhaps it's rounded to 75. It's 72, but 72,
Sure.
75, your choice. You make.
Mhm.
And then the individual is 146.25, so 150.
50.
150, okay.
Why don't, I would like to recommend we go 370 and 150.
So you would drop the senior one. You would go a
I
little
would
lower.
drop the senior one.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
thinking about you, Chris.
Oh, wow.
Coming to me, Chris. I thought I was getting ready for that one.
It's the white
Jeez.
leggings.
Michelle
she
hasn't seen the video yet. I will send it to her.
seen the picture.
Please send it to her. It's hilarious.
I'm sending it right now.
You know, I'm happy to go with the staff's recommendation unless, so that's 370 and 150.
Correct.
Commissioners, are you okay with that? If so, maybe one of my two commissioners can make a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve the cost for membership for the 2021 pool season to reflect $300 for the family cost, $70 for the senior pass, and $150 for the individual pass for the 2021 season at the Rosemary Recreation Complex.
Second that.
Fabulous. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Oh, hearing none, we will come to the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it is unanimous, the three commissioners that are here. Okay, great. Those are great proposals, all of those. So thank you for walking us through that. And is that it for, okay, so then I think the last,
Ooh,
Action.
actually,
Oh,
I'm
no.
sorry. It just has to do with Rosemary. May I ask a quick question? I know
We've
that
moved on. We're off. No.
sorry. I know that procurement was a little backed up because of Karis working into the new job, and now there's somebody there. We don't expect that to be a delay when we go out to bid for our pool opening, do we? It will kind of maybe jump the curve, if we can say that.
Yeah, should be fine.
Okay, cool.
thank you. All right, thank you. The next item, action meeting minutes, and we have minutes were in your package. I believe the last 2 pages of the package. Minutes from March 8th of 2021. Could I have a motion, perhaps?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Park and Rec Commission meeting from Monday, March 8th, 2021.
Thank you. Seconded by Michelle. Thank you. Is there any discussion, question, comments on those minutes? No, they were very well written, if I do say so. Hearing no further discussion, we'll come to the vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Kristen, for the minutes. Topics for future meetings. Anything anyone has to bring up for a future meeting? Our next meeting for 3 weeks, I believe. Whoa.
Can I add something to my wonderful signs that I always like to put at the end of each meeting? I think one of the signs at the DeFazio complex is broken on the 135 sign coming in from Dedham. That if you look where it has like the Mike DeFazio and it lists all the fields, the one that is facing, I think it's just wind damaged and it's cracked and it's going to get worse. I know the one coming from the town is fine, but I think the one going in is cracking. And if we can maybe put that on the back burner to be fixed over the next year, that would be great.
Oh, you know, I walked by that the other day and I didn't notice that.
It's more at the top than anything. I just happened to catch it. Maybe the sun was hitting it right. And I was just like, ooh, that looks
Was it after your second shot, Cindy?
I'm not walking after that second shot. Downstairs to the kitchen and I like couldn't move. Yeah, it was not a good day. Thursday was not a good day. Friday was better. And then I was fine. But yes, the second shot was just like you ladies described. I had all of those symptoms.
Which
every-
one do you have, Cindy?
I had the Pfizer. And after the first shot was nothing, and the second shot on Thursday, I mean, every joint in my body ached. I thought I was going to just lose it, but I didn't complain at all. I'm sure Jim would say I didn't complain either. So brave. Okay, so.
Can I ask another question?
Sure,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
being a pain in the butt. And if I missed this during the field summit when I had to jump off, I apologize. But do we have a date yet of when DPW or whichever one of our wonderful crews will set up the parking lot at Tefazio? I know that they chopped down a lot of the snow and let it
Mhm.
melt, and it looks really good. But with fall 2 being there and then spring coming in, I would just hate for it to get lost and not get done.
I have a bunch of calls with Eddie this week. I'll touch base with him tomorrow about that. I don't have an exact date.
Again, no
But-
rush. Just
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Okay. I don't know if it's a topic for a future meeting or not, but Stacy, I believe the Exchange Club has probably reached out to you, right?
They have.
And Kristen, we are planning to do something on the 4th of July, which is a Sunday, based upon what the town will allow us to do. I think the holiday is celebrated Monday, so there's some discussion that the parade may be Monday, but everything's up in the air, but we are really going to try to do something. To
We
help.
do have all the paperwork from the Exchange Club, all the permit requests, everything in.
Okay.
And they're aware. So if anything else comes up, we'll reach out to them or you
Yeah.
guys.
Okay, terrific. And that's anything from anyone else? Michelle?
An update, or if we could get an update on the skate park, the pop-up skate park, and where
Yes.
we putting that?
question.
I am working with DPW to get it out of Ridge Hill before they tear down Ridge Hill. And then it's just a matter of working with, like, looking at the different sites we had originally talked about at the top of the hill, but with the pool being open more, we don't probably want to put it there. So we need to find a different location. And I don't want to put it at Fazio. There's just too much going on over there. I think probably one of the school parking lots is best, but then we have to I want to touch base with some of the principals and see. So if you have any ideas for where we could put it, I don't know where it was last time.
Mills, I remember 2 years ago in that.
No, that's actually not a bad place for it because it's not attached to a school.
Just
Right.
not,
Could you do the Newman parking lot though, like where the buses, or are the buses there
The
throughout?
buses are there all year long.
Yeah.
there's the preschool parking lot that's to the left. There's like
At Newman.
Newman, yeah.
That's
Like the-
definitely a possibility.
I don't know how steep of a incline it is, though. You want something flat. I just can't
I was
picture.
gonna say it'd be an interesting skate park, a lot of downhill stuff.
Kind of like jam it in. Like,
Kids would love that
Um,
for a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to brainstorm about different parking areas about what we can sort of take over.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is in the works of getting it out of there and
Okay.
then putting it somewhere.
Right, and they'll be after you to get it out, because they're after exchange for us to get our stuff out of Ridge Hill. We've got a bunch of stuff stored there, and
Yes, you do.
yes, we do.
Weird stuff down there. Hilarious.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's it. There are 3 meeting dates there. Hopefully those dates work. I'm assuming you've checked that they're not a holiday, any of those dates.
Only one of them is a holiday, but only one of us celebrates it. So it's fine.
I am
What?
able to make April 12th meetings, then our next meeting. I cannot.
You are not.
Okay.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
Matt's last meeting.
Yeah. So since Matt isn't here, I know this is recorded, but I'm going to trust that he doesn't go watch the recording.
If he does, he has problems.
He's got problems. So I'm thinking Chris Gerstle is going to find out if he drinks wine. And because we used to typically go out for a drink when somebody left the commission, we would invite previous commissioners to come, old commissioners, but that's not going to work this year. And I thought I might deliver a bottle of wine to his house for that day. And he doesn't have to open it at the meeting, but he could, drink it by himself, I guess. Yeah, Stacy.
If you want to invite past commissioners to this meeting, I can set it up as a meeting and keep them in the waiting room at the end or whatever time and pull
That's a
them
nice
in.
touch.
So he won't be able to see that they're there. But
Oh,
then
that
we
would,
could, whenever
great.
you want to do it, I can just set up the Zoom differently.
okay, that would be a great idea. There are probably 3 or 4 that I can think of off the bat, right? That we could invite if they could make it. Okay, thank you. I didn't even think of that. Okay, terrific. But we won't have Michelle. So Michelle, you'll have to, hoist a glass with them at some other time.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Downtown, you can just meet him at the tent one night. Just
Exactly.
Well, that's true. We can do that,
Yeah.
right?
We could go to the
That-
tent.
Is it lit at night? I don't think it's
Yeah.
lit. Is
It's
it
got
lit? Apparently I've never.
both ways. It's lit with lights and also lit, like the kids say.
Oh, God.
Okay, wow, that was recorded too. That's
You're
great.
welcome.
Okay.
Wrap it up, Cindy.
All right.
Right, so I will.
Awkward.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it. Stay safe.
Great job with the field summit also.
Lovely. Thank you. All right. Bye.